Hi, nerds!
Welcome to our Captain America, the First Avenger movie review.
So before we get into the review, we'd just like to say a huge thank you to all of you who have subscribed to our channel.
And if you aren't subscribed to our channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button when you're done watching the video. Like it, leave a comment, and share with your friends. Okay, so this was probably our first movie where we have more good things to say about the film than bad things.
It's about time.
Yes, so why don't you get into your overall impression with the film?
Alright, overall impression of Captain America. This is hands down the best movie we've seen so far. We haven't seen terribly many, but definitely the best that we have so far. Great storytelling, great world building, because in the kind of story that it is, they do need to have a certain amount of world building to set up the war and the places the characters are going to be. So it doesn't count quite as like world building the way like Asgard would have been, but it's done better.
Universe building might have been a better way to
there you go.
put that.
Universe building was done well. Characters were done well, but from just a purely like movie watcher standpoint, it was very enjoyable. Like I didn't have very many notes because I was just enjoying the movie. So what was your impression?
So just a quick correction, we have seen all the Marvel movies. When Naomi says this was the first movie that we watched that we enjoyed, it's the first out of the critic viewpoint movie that we've watched.
The first one of the ones we've reviewed so far, this is the best. Yes, good correction, because I know there's going to be better ones down the line.
Yes, yeah, we've watched every single one, like probably more than once.
Definitely.
My overall impression was this is better than I remembered it was.
Actually, same.
Like, I thought it was like just an okay, but watching it the second time with actually trying to look for all the good things and the bad things, it was way better than I thought it was.
Way better than I remember.
No glaring problems like, that's a problem, that's, negative points for this movie. There were none of those. There were a couple small ones that I had, but nothing big. Many, many good things about this film.
A lot of good things.
We'll get into that. And it was never boring. There was never a point where, like, I can go, have a potty break, or I can go grab a snack. It was like, no, I want to stay in my seat for this whole movie.
There were no scenes that I was like, kind of nodding off in or drifting out of the story. It was all very, very good. Very good. And I think, if I could just interject, I think part of the reason I didn't like this movie originally is because I'm constantly comparing it to the other two Captain America films, which I remember liking way more, and so I just think, this is the first one, it's like, it's just okay. But having watched it, especially coming out of having watched Thor and a couple of the other, like, Hulk that we didn't like so much, watching this was, like, very refreshing.
Yes, it was. It was how do I put this? It was a fresh movie. Yeah. It was not a movie that had been left out on the counter for a couple weeks. It was like right fresh out of the fridge, nice and juicy.
Sure.
If you can describe a movie in that way.
Sure you can. It was good. It was good.
So the best part of this juicy movie.
Okay.
For you.
Oof. I had a couple like favorite things about this movie. There was a lot of favorite things, but I narrowed it down to two because I couldn't narrow it down further than that. So my two favorite moments are the one with the flag, where he figures out the flagpole, and the grenade, where he jumps on the fake grenade.
How about you go with...
I have a reason for both of them, because both of them develop his character so well, and so show us so well who Steve Rogers is. It shows his intelligence and also his selflessness and bravery. So I like those both very much.
Okay. For me, it was one of those two moments. It was him jumping on the grenade. Yeah. The reason why I liked it more than the flagpole one, it's because they had built up his character to this point, showing you every single part of him that was good. This was that kind of like culmination moment.
The cherry on top.
Where you're like, okay, now we really know who this guy is. He's the guy who will jump on the grenade to save everyone else.
Yeah.
He's not just a smart person by taking down the flagpole, right? He's not just this nice, humble, excellent human being. He's also
on top of all of that,
he's also willing to put his life on the line for other people.
Yeah, which is huge for his character. It's something that kind of defines him for most of the movies, and it's something that I think some of the other characters might struggle to like live up to. I'm thinking particularly of Tony Stark, who obviously, in the end, does. Yeah. But that is something that he struggles with, especially with the relationship he had with his father and the relationship his father had with Steve before the ice thing. Like it, it's just very interesting.
Okay, so then moving on from that, positive aspects of this film. I have a huge list. How extensive is yours?
Long, but go ahead. Tell me your favorite things. I included a lot of my favorite things in the story section of it because actually a lot of my favorite things tie into the story. So I'll let you take it away from here. I'll interject with my ideas and then build off of that in the story section of the review.
Awesome. So, lighting was excellent. Yeah. I know we've complained before how some movies seemed off, especially was Incredible Hulk. It was said looked very weird lighting-wise. This one was good in that it went for kind of a old school kind of lighting, which matched the old school setting of the film.
Yeah, they did it very purposefully and did it well.
Yes. Every single action scene is excellent.
Yeah.
Like, there's no, like, this again. Like, in the last scene of Iron Man, we're like, this is kind of a boring fight. Every single fight, including the last one, which I really liked, was good. Like, you enjoyed the action scenes in this one.
Yeah. Which is huge for an action movie.
Yes, you want to be able to like the action of these movies.
Really?
Excellent story. You'll get into that later.
Yeah, very excited.
The villain wasn't terrible.
Yes. This, might be, aside from Loki, is our first not terrible villain. Yes, and most people think he is, but I have a couple reasons, as you might get into as well a little bit later, why he is... Actually, you know what? Let's just get into that right now. Oh, okay, cool.
If it's not part of your story, let's go...
It is, but we'll steal it. I am game to talk about Red Skull.
The reason why I don't think he is a bad villain is because we get a little bit more reason as to why he's doing the things he's doing.
Yes.
It's not just speculation like with Ironmonger in the first Iron Man. We're like, okay, he's probably jealous of Tony. That's why he's doing these things. With Iron Man 2, he's like, he's just bad because he's bad. Same with Incredible Hulk. He's just bad because he's bad.
Yeah. I mean, Loki, obviously. Loki was amazing.
Way up here.
But... aside from that, our other villains were really mediocre and not strong on motivations.
Yes. For him, I feel like his motivation was he wanted humanity to be able to reach that next level of evolution. Yeah. That was his motivation. He's like, we have this technology that we have access to, let's use it. Yeah. And he was very power-driven. Most of the other characters we assume... show us that. Yeah. And most of the other villains, we assume that they're power-driven and they want to be able to just rule the world. But here we're actually given that opportunity to delve into why this guy wants to actually take over.
Yeah, and a little glimpse into his plan, too, so it doesn't seem like an arbitrary, like, oh, I'm going to take over the world. It's like, this is how I'm going to take over the world, which makes us more interested in him, because suddenly he's intelligent and an actual, like... kind of a human being for Steve to fight, like, really,
Yes, because he's like, our biggest obstacle is Captain America, let's try to get rid of him, and he tries to do that. Yeah. Right? And then after that doesn't succeed, he's like, okay, let's accelerate our plan a little bit. And after they do that, he's like, we don't need this base anymore, let's blow it up, move to a different base, let's get everything out of here. Yeah. Right? And he also, the other thing that I like is he was supremely confident throughout this entire movie.
Actually, I like that. I said this when we were watching the movie, actually, when he was about to blow up his base. I'm like, he does everything so calmly. Like, even when he knows in this little section that he's beaten and that, you know, his Hydra can't defeat Cap in this particular base and he decides to blow it up, it's not like, oh, Captain America's here, I'd better do something. It's like, oh, okay, let's just blow up the base and move on.
Yep, exactly. Continuing on for that, every single character that was in this movie, I feel, was a good character. Yes. None of these characters were bad or underdeveloped.
Many good characters.
And I have a very good comparison for this. I want to compare the Warriors 3 and Lady Sif to the Howling Commandos. Warriors 3 and Lady Sif were set up to be important characters for the movie.
Yeah.
They were supposed to be side characters to Thor. They were supposed to be.
Yeah.
They were underdeveloped extremely and weren't utilized well and poorly written. Howling Commandos, completely different. They are meant to be very much on the side characters.
Yes.
Very much on the side.
Yeah,
and yet,
really minor characters.
They were able to use these minor characters in a very, very good way and were able to develop them just enough to make them those very, very minor side characters.
Yeah,
which worked.
and it's a difficult balance because with side characters like that, you want to give them enough so that they feel real and they feel human, but you don't want to give them so much attention that you're taking away the spotlight from the main character. And these were done really well because, I mean, you feel like all of these guys are soldiering buddies.
Yep, they all had personalities, unlike the Warriors 3, who you could, like, switch out any one of the three and you still have the same character.
Pretty much.
The Captain America song, like, how does it... Okay, I suddenly blanked. How does it go?
Who will campaign door to
door for America? I loved it, even though it was cringy.
It's so
I liked
cringy,
it.
But I mean, yeah, it's Captain America, so
all the foreshadowing moments were done very well.
There
Captain
were so
America
many.
holding the trash can lid, foreshadowing of him actually holding a shield later.
Yeah.
All the other lines in this movie are used later in other movies. Like, there are many.
Lot.
Like, I Can Do This All Day. All the referencing to him actually dancing, which he gets in Endgame. And then there's one more that I thought, oh, you're taking all the stupid with you, that's used in Endgame. So there's a lot of good foreshadowing done in this movie that extends to later in this movie and the rest of the universe.
Yeah, they build up a lot to give you a lot of room for, like, awesome payoffs.
Yes.
Like, maybe at the beginning of this movie they would have had no idea that Endgame would have been a thing, but they laid such solid groundwork for people to later come along and be like, oh, let's just
It's because it was a good film in the first place.
Exactly.
And that really helps. The dialogue in this movie was
so
excellent.
Good.
The writing, like, the screenwriters did a very, very good job with this movie. There were no, like, points where characters were talking where, like, that wasn't a good line. Like, every single line had purpose and meaning.
And not only that, a lot of the lines had, like, meaning beneath the meaning.
Yes.
So the whole, like, waiting for the right partner had a really
That was an
deep,
excellent line.
meaningful, like, thing behind it, more than just like, oh, one day I'll go dancing. Yeah.
It was like every single time they put the pen to paper, they're like, okay, what does the character mean by what he's saying here? And let's try to build other dialogue around that to be able to develop this movie very, very well.
Not only that, but matching the correct lines to the characters so that it feels like something that character would genuinely say.
Yes.
Like, Peggy's dialogue in particular is just
excellent.
Awesome.
And even a character that you think wouldn't be good, the General Patton, you think he wouldn't be a good character based on Marvel's track record, but he was a great character, and everything that he said made sense for him.
Yeah.
Moving on from that, the suspense in this movie was done very excellently. The specific example would be when Steve is about to go in for the operation, where he's actually sitting on the operation tube thing. They give you, I can't remember if it was. I'll see if I remember it was 2 moments, but there was at least one moment where you could tell, like, this might actually not work, which is when Steve looked and he saw Howard Stark there. And previously he sees... I'm getting ahead of myself because I'm so excited.
It's okay.
He'd previously seen the Stark technology with the hover car fail at the expo, and then he's like, oh man, what if he's going to fail here? And you can see that on Steve's face. Yeah. He's like, this might not work. And then I can't remember the other moment where they put in there where this could probably not work. I think I wrote that down somewhere.
Was it him just talking about the failure with Red Skull?
Yes, that's actually what I was going to be.
Because, like, the first time I watched that, like, freaked me out. I was like, I mean, I knew that Captain America would become Captain America, but there was still a little part of me like, oh, is he going to be ugly?
Effect? Yeah.
Don't wreck that beautiful face.
Oh, there are so many beautiful faces in this movie.
Really, though?
The humor was done very well.
It was really well done, yeah.
There was no joke that I didn't laugh at.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing.
And on the other hand, it wasn't too much to make light of, like, a serious moment.
Yeah.
Like, in all of the emotional scenes, you feel emotionally invested. And
there were no jokes in emotional moments.
Yeah, and then in, you know, the funny moments, then there's the jokes that you can actually laugh at.
Yeah.
And
yeah. And then the last thing I have, and then you can pick up any more that we haven't covered yet. There were 3, I believe I have it down here somewhere. Yes. I believe 3 references to Indiana Jones, and I wanted to cover this because
you only pointed out the one to me.
I found 2 more. So, the first one was when Red Skull went into that church in Norway, and he was talking, and there was all this other talking, trying to find the Tesseract.
All the talking.
And then he said something about Hitler was off in the desert trying to find, I'm not sure if he said trinkets.
Yeah, he was like, he looks for trinkets in the desert.
Yes.
That's what he said.
And then that got me thinking. In the 3rd Indiana Jones film, well, see, I can't even remember the name of it anymore. But anyways, Indiana Jones is trying to beat the Nazis to the Holy Grail, which is in the desert. And they mentioned a couple times in that movie that Hitler was a fan of superstitious ways and supernatural stuff, right?
Which they do mention in this
movie too. So then I'm like, oh, are they giving a shout out to Indiana Jones and saying that Hitler is off, well, sending his goons
like
off
to sort of imply that that's happening at the same time,
exactly,
which would be so cool.
That'd be so cool, having Hydra developing all this excellent futuristic technology from the Infinity Stone, and then having, you know, the rest of the army going off into the desert trying to find the key to eternal life. But anyways, what were you going to say?
Just something, and I wrote it down somewhere. Is this the first Infinity Stone we've seen? I think it is.
Yes.
This is like monumentous, people. This is the first Infinity Stone.
Good segue. Not really good segue. Good tangent. Back onto my thing.
Back on.
The other 2 references to Indiana Jones was when Red Skull was holding the Tesseract and his face kind of melted off. That's, I believe, is an Easter egg for in the first Indiana Jones movie when they open the Ark of the Covenant and everybody else's, at least the evil guys, all their faces melt off.
Gave me nightmares for years.
And then there was one more. There was one more reference. I wrote down that there was 3, and it was in that scene as well. Not the face melting off. Oh, see? Now I can't remember, and this is bumming me out. I should have written me out. Written me out. I should have written me out, guys. I need a script. Okay.
It wasn't that scene, though?
It was... I believe it was that scene.
Was it...
It should have been that scene.
I don't know Indiana Jones enough to help you out.
Huh.
Well, can we...
we can move on. We can move on at this
There's
point.
At least 2 maybe
There's one more that I can't
references.
remember, but...
Let us know in the comments if you thought you saw another reference in there.
There probably was. Okay.
Favorite quote, I think, is that where... No, action scene. Is that where we're at?
That's where we're at. Did I miss anything with our
there's
excellent parts of this movie?
A couple more things I think I'm going to bring up in the story segment. One thing that I might bring up now. The romance is done so well.
Yeah.
Like, contrasting it to Thor. Mm-hmm. Thor meets this girl over the weekend and they fall in love. This is like the perfect slow burn because they meet and you can tell there's a bit of a connection, but then, you know, they sort of part ways a little bit, come back, and then they build the tension up too, because there's like 2 or 3 times, I think just 2, where they could have kissed and you almost see them thinking about it.
And they don't.
But you desperately want them to, which invests you in their relationship. Yeah. So then when they finally do kiss, it's like
up top. Yes! Well done, guys.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what you need in a romance. That was so well done.
It was well done. Best action scene was the climax for me, was the best action scene. And the reason for this is because the main chunk of action was put into a montage near the end of the movie where he goes to all the Hydra bases, and I don't count that as an action scene because it's a montage, so it doesn't count.
Other action scenes, which actually the montage was so good. I really enjoyed it.
His first scene when he actually is Captain America, there's not a lot. Whoopsies. Oh, we're still recording. Okay, good. Are we? Yes. We are. Okay, my computer froze for a second. Where was I? First action scene, right when he becomes Captain America. Okay. It's the first scene. Nothing really happened. Well, it's.
A little bit of foreshadowing with the car door, and it's got a star on it.
But for me, it didn't have a lot of different elements there to make it a good scene. Were there any other action scenes that I'm missing? Oh, when the Hydra base blows up, it's very busy. So for that reason, I didn't really like it.
And it's not action in like the characters are doing the action. Yeah. Like the characters are escaping from the action.
Exactly.
So it feels a little different.
So here's why I liked the climax as for my best action scene. One, it had a myriad of different elements.
Ooh, myriad.
Myriad. And three that I can think of. The part where he throws the knife into the other guy's back. That's one of the moments where you don't just see punching. You see other elements of his fighting style, which is something that we'll get to in Winter Soldier, where he shows off his wide range of skills. Yeah. So the knife throwing is one. Where he actually gets shot out of the back of the airplane and has to hijack this other little mini airplane and then get it back into the ship.
Not really a helicopter. But
Sort
it's got
of.
like helicopter blades. But
and then the fight in Zero Gravity.
Which was so cool.
So cool. There is many different things in this action scene. It's not just one scene like in the Iron Man movie or Incredible Hulk where it's just straight punching for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Or some variation on punching.
Yeah.
This had many different things that were cool.
But they all feel logically connected, too. It wasn't, like, just thrown in there to be cool. Like, let's have a moment of zero gravity. It was like, no, it makes sense. Like, the button was pushed, and now they're, like, following. Yeah. And it all was connected really well.
There were no stupid monologues from the villain, which
Yay
was good.
For that.
Like, you would expect as soon as Captain America walks in and Red Skull is always going to start monologuing about his plan. But he doesn't do that. They just get straight to fighting, which I like. And then the sacrifice at the end was, for me, at least at that point in the film, a legit sacrifice. Captain America thought he was going to die. He knew he was going to die. So he was like, okay, make the sacrifice, let everyone live. And I pointed this out in an Iron Man review where I'm like, I don't think Iron Man thought he was going to die when he told Pepper to explode the arc reactor. He knew he was going to live, but he's like, this is a way that we can kill Obadiah, so let's do it. Captain America was like, I'm going to die.
This is my only option, but I'm willing to do it.
Yep. That's that. That's why I like that.
That scene. Was, good summary, because I like that scene too. It was awesome. Favorite quote. There are so many good quotes I could pick out, like, I'm waiting for the right partner. There's a number of others. I think I have 2 written down here. Okay. I could do this all day. Obviously, that's a really good one. Yeah. And then you were meant for more than this, and that's a good one. That really speaks to Captain America's character, I think.
And then my favorite, again, a lot to choose from. I had down when a strong man. I can't remember the exact quote.
Something about like
a strong man can lose respect of strength or something like that, where a weak man understands what it's like to not have strength. There we go. Something along those lines.
Knows the value of strength.
There we go. I think a strong man doesn't know the value of strength, and yet a weak man does, or something like that. Anyways, it was when it
was good though. It was
professor was talking to Steve before he had the surgery, and I feel like that is a very good summary of the character of Captain America.
Yeah,
he had very humble beginnings, and that continues throughout his character. And the reason is because he remembered what he was like beforehand.
Yeah, and
he continued that on when he was still super soldiering it up.
Super soldier. Yeah, cool. Okay, theme.
Sacrifice.
That's a good theme.
That's what I have.
My theme was power corrupts the strong.
Oh, that is actually excellent. Okay, explain.
Okay, so we see kind of a couple examples of this. So the reason that what's his face? The
Red
doctor.
Skull?
No. What's his name?
It starts with an E. I can't remember.
Okay, yeah.
Whatever. It doesn't really matter.
The guy who makes the serum, the reason he chose Steve was because he was weak. But he was...
Incorruptible might be a good word.
He was incorruptible. So yeah, he was that weak man who would respect the strength, I think, is the point. And the reason he didn't choose the brat, whatever his name was, the mean soldier guy, is because he was mean. He was a bully. He might have been strong, but he wasn't good. And so he knew that having more power would only corrupt that man further. Just like with Red Skull, which is the prime example of this, he was already strong. Like, obviously, he had already risen to, like, the head of Hydra, and he was doing well for himself, but wanted so much more, and then got that, and still wanted more.
Yes.
Whereas Captain America starts out as weak and becomes strong and doesn't want more than that.
Yeah.
He's perfectly satisfied being Captain America, and even that he feels like maybe he's not fully worthy of that. He's just a kid from Brooklyn.
Yep.
And so that's
with great power comes great responsibility.
You could say that.
To quote Spider-Man, who will unfortunately not be part of the MCU anymore, which we are both super sad about. We might, we won't do a reaction video to that, but just so you guys know, we're super sad about Spider-Man leaving the MCU.
That ruins the story. I'm not really that upset about, I'm upset about the character leaving, but I'm also really upset because it messes up everything.
It does. Marvel has some work to do. So does Sony. But anyways.
Get your act together.
Story. Take us away for that.
It was so good, you guys. And I wish I could leave it at that, but I'm going to explain. So, one of my biggest beefs with so many of the other movies leading up to this is the plot points felt weak because they weren't personal. So, things were just happening that the character happened to be around. And so, you're watching these, like, big action scenes and you don't care. The plot points in this movie are deeply personal for Steve, and so we feel invested and we feel drawn into the emotions. So, first plot point, his transformation. Obviously a huge moment for him. And we see all of the feels. And we feel all the feels.
I feel taller.
So, we see him struggle with his new strength and the balance of that responsibility. So that was a really strong point. Midpoint is when he decides to rescue Bucky and the other soldiers. That's his choice to move from being a dancing monkey to becoming the real
And
Captain
it wasn't
America.
like the generals decided, okay, we're going to rescue these people, and Captain America comes along. It was like Captain America defied the orders and went and did it himself.
Yeah, which makes it way more interesting for us, because now it's not just like he's tagging along with something. He chose a very distinct action. And so we can root for him in that. So that was awesome. And then third plot point is, of course, Bucky's death. And that
deeply personal.
Is deeply personal for him, and we see that and we feel it. And so, like, awesome job on the plot points. And I thought I was going to have a great time talking about Winter Soldier. Turns out this story is pretty spot on too. So I was thrilled about that.
Just in a quick moment about Steve reacting to Bucky's death is that he was talking to Peggy being like, I can't get drunk, right? But I think he knew that before he tried, and he still tried it anyway because of how sad he was about Bucky's death, and he was trying to bury that. Right? So he tried to do something he probably wouldn't work, and he tried to do it anyway to cover his grief.
And the thing that gets me is, in that scene, he's not crying, but you can tell he has been. Like, he's got the red eyes and everything, and it just... That hurts almost more than seeing a character, like, scream, the dramatic, like, their friend just died, and they scream.
Or the Thor with his hammer just...
Like, and it's like, okay, a little bit relatable, because I'd probably scream if something happened to my friend, but just the way he reacted, even on the train, just the despair crashing in, and you see it on his face, and then that following scene where you can tell he's been crying, and you can tell that this is, like, that he's tried to get drunk, and he can't, and it's... so good. So romance ties into story, but I've talked about that already, so that's really good. Climax, you guys.
Excellent.
So good. And again, it's because it matters. It's because we care about this character, and we know, like, we've seen glimpses of the, like, handheld Hydra guns, so we know that something like a bomb is gonna do tremendous damage to whatever their target was, and so there's some serious stakes that we can actually understand.
Stakes beyond Captain America dying, because with every single Iron Man, well, the two that we've covered so far, the the Incredible Hulk, and Thor. Maybe not Thor. But definitely not Iron Man 2 and Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2, Incredible Hulk. The stakes were the hero will die.
Pretty much.
In Thor, it was the hero will die, but also maybe Jotunheim can throw that in there. But in this movie, especially because it deals with more human casualties, and a lot of it...
Well, it's a war.
The stakes are... The stakes in this movie have been the biggest so far out of every single one that we've reviewed yet.
But not over-dramatized either.
Yes.
Like, it feels like a real war with real lives at stake.
Yeah.
It's
awesome.
That
was excellent.
Climax was super. We've already chatted about the villain a little bit, but something I don't think we've mentioned yet is he's a mirror to the hero, which is something you really want to see. So not only did he have the same experiment with him, but he's like almost a complete mirror image of Steve, whereas, Steve is the humble kid who's just trying to protect people and willing to sacrifice his life. Red Skull is like not going to sacrifice anything, anything else except for his own personal things to, build himself up.
It goes way beyond just that he had the same power set as Captain America. Like, that has been something that we have not liked about other films, but that's because they weren't coupled with a character that was opposite from the hero. Yes. In this case, it was a character that was not only opposite from the hero in terms of abilities, but also in terms of personality. Yeah. Which is
storyline
really
and
good.
Motivations even, like... Such a good mirror. Yeah. Like, so good.
Moving on from that, best character of the movie.
Okay, I love all of the characters in this movie.
Yeah.
And I know you did too, and there were so many people. So the general guy, I can't remember his name, but he's hilarious.
Yes.
He's got this
General
weird
Patton?
sense of...
Patton?
He's got this, funny sense of humor. It's,
Dry
a little
sense
odd,
of humor.
but I like it. I like him. Peggy. I love Peggy. I think she's my favorite love interest. We'll see when we do the ranked, but I think she's my favorite. And Bucky, guys,
He's so hot.
A little. I've loved Bucky for, as long as I can remember having watched these films. And in this, he's a good character in all of his movies. But in this one, he's such a good, friend. And he's so... Bucky.
So Bucky. For me, it was Captain America. He is everything that we want from a superhero. He had humility, he had courage, he had honor, and he had service. And he was a likable character.
So likable and relatable. He didn't feel like just this overpowered guy. Like, he was someone you could get to know and be friends with. And,
And it was this movie that really put me on Team Captain America for Civil War.
Oh, really?
Yes. And then Winter Soldier only piled more money into that box.
Really.
So moving on from all the good things, we have a short list of things that we didn't like. Starting with what was the worst thing about this movie.
Okay, this is like a totally weird little thing, but I found that first scene after he's become Captain America and he's chasing after the guy in the car, he looks so weird. I think the CGI isn't quite right, and it looks really weird, and it pulled me out of the movie for a minute. And that's honestly the worst thing I could think of.
Yes, for me it's pretty much the same thing. I feel like, except for the CGI where they put Chris Evans' face onto the younger actor, I know a lot of people don't like the look of that. I thought it worked very
so
well.
Did I, actually.
But I think they poured all of their CGI budget into making that look realistic, and then everything else suffered. Especially the montage, that scene at the beginning where he becomes Captain America, and there were a couple other scenes where you're like, this looks really fake.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a lot of the action scenes, except for the last one, suffered from that, this doesn't look real.
Yeah, which is so unfortunate for a movie that's so good, because you want it to look real and you want to be able to really get into it.
And then other negative aspects for me, this is a nitpick in every single one of the films that I watch that have another supposed language featured, which in this movie it would be German. When there are just German people in the room, they're still speaking English.
Oh!
I don't like that. Have them speak German, have subtitles.
Actually, that makes total sense now that you've pointed it out.
Almost every single movie that has people from a foreign country in that movie, and it's just people from that country speaking, most often than not at the beginning they'll have subtitles, but near towards the end they don't. I think that's just because writers and other people get lazy, but do the work. Get them to speak German. It makes it more real for us. I do not want Red Skull speaking to Zola in English. They're German. Speak German.
Yeah.
I don't know why Captain America went to Europe in the first place, because he's on tour for his Captain America, like, buy war bonds. I don't understand why he would go to Europe for that. We're not given an explanation as to why.
That's true. He just
insert
shows
him.
up there.
He just shows up, and we don't know why. And I don't like that. And my third thing is, he should have been caught when he was trying to save Bucky and the other people. We get a glimpse at the end where Red Skull looks at a camera and sees Captain America fighting. So we know there are cameras everywhere, and they have a fairly substantial army there, and there's this guy running around with a star-spangled shield on his back.
I know, like...
You're telling me that nobody sees that?
Yeah.
That's a little outlandish for me.
Yeah.
Okay, go.
I would agree. That was it for the worst moments stuff. All that you said I agree with.
Okay.
And I really don't have anything to add.
Okay, so short. Not a lot of stuff that we didn't like.
Yeah, which is awesome. And I'm surprised by that because, again, looking back on this film, I thought that I didn't like it as much as I ended up liking it on our rewatch, which is awesome. I'm glad I could end up liking it.
And I would agree. It is a movie that I enjoyed more when I took a closer look at it.
Yeah.
So that being said, what's your score?
Oh, we have one more thing. What was the point?
We do? Oh, see, I keep forgetting what was the point because all of our other movies have no point. This one, what was the point?
Small is powerful?
Believe it.
And cheesily, it's who you are on the inside that counts. It's who you are on the inside that makes you powerful.
Yeah.
One way or the other, good or evil.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. I don't have anything to add.
And that's something that you can actually take away from
and
this
do
movie
it yourself.
And, like, seriously learn something.
Yes.
How about that?
Yes, this is a movie that taught its audience something.
Yeah.
Other than just being entertainment.
Yeah.
So that bodes well for the film.
It's really
so, now rating.
Okay, so I thought I didn't like it quite as much. Enjoyed it more this time, but I know that there are movies that I'm going to enjoy even more than this, so I want to give myself some wiggle room.
If I can interject, don't give it wiggle room, because I like judging movies as they are, not looking at context.
Okay.
Okay, because we can always move movies around when we do our official ranking videos for, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and the Infinity Saga. So, this movie on its own, without looking at anything else.
In light of that, then, 8 out of 10?
Okay, I would agree. 8 out of 10 for me. Not looking at any other movie, this movie by itself is an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, totally worth watching, worth rewatching. It's
multiple
great.
times.
It's really great.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about the question of the day, and the only thing I could think of is, would you rather be a lab rat or a dancing monkey?
Man.
But that feels like a really
You know what? Let's just go with that.
Of the day.
Would you rather be a dancing monkey or a lab rat?
Yeah. So let us know.
I prefer dancing monkey. What about you?
Yeah,
okay.
Same.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So let us know down in the comments below, and as always, thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.
It's really kind of rewarding for us to see all of you guys invested in every single one of our videos.
Yeah.
Seeing our view counts go up as we upload more videos. Seeing every one of you comment, especially those of you that have given us some pretty good feedback.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Videos. It's super helpful. As always, if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. Don't forget to like and comment and share this video with all of your nerdy friends.
Yes, so until next time, see you later.
Don't you say it left. Come on!